Welcome back, champions, to another 101 PvP guide video. Today we're going to talk about Unholy Death Knight and how to play it in PvP in the war within. In this video I'll cover the best talents and build to use in PvP. I'll cover the stat priority on which you can kind of guess like which gear you need with it. I'll also cover the normal rotation and how to burst as Unholy Death Knight. So without more talking, let's go! Alright, here we are at the talents for Unholy Death Knight for PvP in the war within. On the left side we have the general tree. There are a few things you really want to work towards. Death's Echo is definitely a must. It will give you an extra charge of Death Advance, Death and Decay and Death Grip, which is an absolute must. On the left, Null Magic is really strong, even though it got nerfed in PvP. This one makes you more tanky against those pesky mages and other magical damage classes. And this one is pretty optional. Before it was mandatory. Now you don't pick it for the damage, but you pick it for the gap closer. And when I show you the burst rotation later in this video, this is really great to set up some massive AoE burst damage. Another one that's really crucial is Asphyxiate. It's a stun. But with PvP talents you can change it into a silence. And there's not a lot I would change. Perforating Chill. What I sometimes do is I change this one to Permafrost. Because Permafrost, it doesn't seem like it does a lot of healing. But over a long fight, if you look at the healing stats, or the healing done with this, it is absolutely massive. And by taking Gloom Ward, which is other optional, absorbs are 50% more effective on you. That means like your anti-magic barrier is 50% more effective. Your anti-magic zone is 15% more effective on you. But also the heal from Permafrost, or that little shield it gives you. But in general, if I want to swap something out, I would take away Gloom Ward. You can put it, for example, in Death Reach, which some people also run with, which increases the range of Death Grip by 10 yards. And this one is pretty useful, especially in Battlegrounds, if you really want to reach far and drag someone to that doom into your whole team. Which is quite hilarious when you are able to do so. Can do, by the way, I forgot to mention. You can always put Gloom Ward also into Breath Walk if you feel like you need another roof break and to get away. It's like your Gloom Ward talent is kind of like your leftover you can put into Breath Walk and Death Reach. Well, there we go, the Unholy Death Knight specific tree. There are a few things you really want to work towards. You want to go with Super Stain, which of course makes sure that your Virant Plague also applies Frost Fever and Blood Plague at 75% effectiveness, and also the effects they bring with it. For example, Blood Plague also does a small healing as well when it deals damage. You'll get 75% of that as well. Morbidity, so they'll take increased damage from every diseases that they have on them. And with Super Stain, that's of course buffs your damage. Here in the middle, you want to go with Raise Abomination, which is nice if you burst. This big fella will just wander around, start hacking at people, applying festering wounds on them. Does pretty heavy damage as well. And it also spreads around your diseases as well. So again, another global you don't have to spend. And Holy Assault is really big as well, because it will increase all the damage you do by 20% for the next 20 seconds. And it also increases, when you press it, its own damage by 20% as well. Pretty weird, but it is what it is. Go with Defile, which is makes sure your Death and Decay is an upgraded version, which is nice. Even Fever, so your diseases do more damage in a shorter amount of time. Beware, you need to spend more runes to keep it up with this one. But then again, it will be worth it if you keep it up because it does way more damage. If you want to go for some big AoE burst, this one is mandatory. Pestilence, Death and Decay damage has a 10% chance applying a festering wound to the enemy. So every tick of damage of Death and Decay, but now Defile, will have a 10% chance of applying a festering wound. Why is that important, you would ask me? Well, because when you're bursting, you'll want to grab as many people towards you as possible for a massive AoE in the face. And if we look at this, so everyone who stands in it will have a 10% chance per tick of damage of Defile to have a festering wound. The great thing about it is with Cleaving Strikes. Scourge Strike hits to 7 additional enemies while you remain in your Death and Decay. Or Defile. If you grab everyone towards you when you're bursting with massive AoE, you put down a Defile, and with this talent also it slows the enemies that are in there by massive amounts, so it's really hard for them to escape. You grab everyone towards them, they're massively slowed, they'll have festering wounds on them, and with Scourge Strike, because it cleaves, you can cleave, burst all those festering wounds, even on your off target that you're just grabbing in there. So another point on the right side that I think you can swap out, just what you want to prefer, I go with Infected Claws, so my ghoul's attacks have a 30% chance to apply a Festering Wound, which makes sure I don't have to use Festering Strike so often. I just really want to spend more of the time in globals bursting those Festering Wounds. However, if you don't feel the need of keeping up more Festering Wounds, you can also go with Ghoulish Frenzy, which makes sure when you put your ghoul into the transformation form, that monstrosity, the monstrosity and you will deal 5% more damage, and also your attack speed of both the monstrosity and you is also increased by 5%. So that's a little bit you can play around with. If you feel you don't want to have that massive burst, for example, if you don't face off against 3 targets plus, you can always drop Pestilence as well and also put it into Ghoulish Frenzy for more of a kind of like single target oriented burst. But that's something I rarely run. I just swap sometimes out Infected Claws for Ghoulish Frenzy. Alright, Rider of the Apocalypse, the one, the hero talent for Unholy Death Knight. When you spend Runic Power, you have a chance of spawning one of the Horsemen. And each of the Horsemen will have their own effects. So you have Mograine, which casts Death and Decay at its location and it follows around. And that Death and Decay is nice because it will also benefit you with Cleaving Strikes. Really nice, so you can AoE people down. We have White Mane, cast Undead on your target, dealing an X amount of attack power, Shadow Frost damage per stack, every 3 seconds for 24. That's kind of like another dot, and again, another dot, while you have mobility, is great, because that's another free 2% damage. We have Trollbane. Trollbane is really nice, because Trollbane, when he's being spawned, he will cast Chains of Ice on your targets, occasionally slowing them down, so it's easier for you to keep up with your enemies without spending runes on Chains of Ice, because Trollbane will do that for you. Also, we have Nazgrim. When Nazgrim is spawned, Nazgrim is active, you'll gain Apocalyptic Conquest and just flat increase your strength by 3%. And strength is your main stat, is always really nice. But if you look at this tree, you have a few options as well. This is the first one. I would always go with Death Charge. When you activate it, you'll break out of roots and slows, which is really nice. Makes you way more mobile and can really keep your uptime on the target higher by a lot, which is nice. You have another choice, man. Horseman 8 used to be good, but in PvP, the anti-magic shell that it gives to you is kind of nerfed. You can still run it into really heavy magic comms. But I think Pact of the Apocalypse now is better, because every horseman you spawn, you will take 5% less damage. And there's a talent that will show further down. You spawn all 4 of them at once, which is 4 times 5, 20% damage reduction. Really nice, and it's a more generic setup if you're not sure what you're facing off against. Mogren's Might, your damage is increased by 5% and you gain the benefit of Death and Decay while inside of Mogren's Death and Decay. Again, another buff. We have Nazgrim's Conquest. There we have it. Increased strength by 3%. An additional each rune you spend increases value by another 1%, so it can ramp up your strength. This is another choice. Some people go a few of the horsemen, so they'll last longer. But I usually like a Feast of Souls more, because on the Unholy Death Knight tree, we already buff our Death Call by quite a lot. And this one can even boost it even more by 20%. So that'll make your burst really strong. On the right here, we also have Trollbane's Ice Fury. So Curse Strike shadows Trollbane's Chains of Ice, dealing as amount of attack power. So also more damage. And also it cleaves off the slow effect 40% to all the targets nearby. We have Maelstrom's Menace. Curse Strike deals 15% increased damage, and the cooldown of your Defile is reduced by 5 seconds. And Defile is pretty nice to just cleave everyone down, and also to increase your own haste while you're in it. Hungry First, the damage of your disease and Death Coil are increased by 10%. So you see what I'm going with? 10% here. When you're bursting, another 20% there's a 30% increase. And here at the bottom, Apocalypse Now, Army of the Death and Frostman's Fury call upon all 4 horsemen to aid you for 20 seconds. So yeah, compared with this one, massive damage reduction by 20%. Makes you way more tanky. And this one just suits the Unholy Death Knight so well, because we have a lot of stuff that increases the Death Call damage, you see? A lot of stuff that increases the damage. So buffing it even further will make your burst hit so hard. It's absolutely bonkers what you can do with it. With that out of the way, let's look at the PvP talents. There are 2 mandatory you'll always run, you'll never change. Necrotic Wounds is one of them. Kind of acts as also like a Mortal Strike effect, but then not really. This one is just an absorb of heal, and it will convert it to you. But the great thing is, this one you can have up and not interrupt a warrior's mortal strike, for example. This one can stack over that instead of replacing it, what you see happening a lot with other different mortal strike effects. So this one's really unique and makes Death Knight really strong. Doom Burst, also one that you always take. It's your sudden doom, also calls your next death call to burst 2 festering wounds and reduce the target speed by 45% per burst. So you can burst 2 of them, so it's a massive 90% slow. And you can absolutely burst now festering wounds from range, which is nice. And especially if you combine it with Pestilence, you can drop that one down also from range. And also with Infected Claws, and if you have some runic power, you can burst those festering wounds from range. Really crazy. And here's the third one that you can swap out. We have Necromancer's Bargain. This one is for, if you're not sure what to pick as the third one, this one is always a safe option. It will just increase your damage overall. However, you can also swap this one out for Strangulate to give you another silence. But then your Asphyxiate will be replaced with Strangulate. So if you face off a target that can be silenced, you can go Strangulate. If you have targets that the silence is not that useful on, swap this one out. Another great one that people also use is Spell Warden if you face off against heavy hitters in the magical schools. This will make sure reduces the cooldown of it by 10 seconds, and you can use it on allies. So this is really great in arenas. If you see, for example, your teammate being focused down, you can give him or her the anti-magic shell. Absolutely great. And if you face off against physical damage classes, you can always go with Blood Forced Armor. This will make sure when you death strikes, all physical damage after your death strike for 3 seconds will be reduced by 20%. So my go-to is Necromancer's Bargain, is always a safe option. These are the talents that I think now are the best for PvP. So let's go look at the normal rotation and later on the burst rotation. Let's go! Here we are for the stat priority for Unholy Death Knights in PvP. It's rather simple, it's not that hard. For Unholy Death Knights for stats, the most important one is Strength. That's your primary stat. That will just plainly boost your damage. After Strength, you want to go with Versatility. It increases the damage you deal and also decrease the damage you take, which is absolutely crucial for survival in PvP. And after that, after Versatility, we want to have high amounts of Haste and Mastery. I would say Haste and Mastery, you want to kind of balance it out because they're both really important for your damage output and also to make the gameplay smooth with high Haste. And then the least favorable stat is Critical Strike. So that's what you're going after: Strength, Versatility, Mastery equal Haste, and then as last, Critical Strike. And that's what you can base off, like what gear you wanna go for and which crafted gear. I'm not gonna talk about gear in this video, but if you want me to make a guide about it too, let me know in the comments and let's go to the normal rotation. Like I hear asking, but Dirk, how do you do the normal rotation of Unholy Death Knight? Isn't that complicated? Well, actually it's really simple. I'll just briefly explain how to do it, and I'll also put some text on the screen so you can see. And then after that we'll go to the target dummy to put it in practice. So, the normal rotation, you want to maintain change of eyes on all the targets to hinder their movement and keep your uptime on them. Then secondly, you want to use Outbreak to maintain your Virulent Plague. Then thirdly, you want to use Festering Strikes to generate and refresh Festering Wounds. However, it is important to note that there can only be 6 stacks of Festering Wounds on a target at a given time. Once you have around 4 to 5 wounds, you should not waste additional runes on Festering Strike, because then it will overcap. After you've created some Festering Wounds with Festering Strike, you can then burst them down with Scourge Strike. After that, you've probably built up some runic power, and then it's time to use Death Coil. Death Coil uses a lot of runic power, but also does a lot of damage. You should always use Death Coil as well if you have a Sudden Doom proc, because a Sudden Doom proc with the talents we showed will also burst Festering Wounds. If you have some runic power left, and if you are being attacked, it's time to use Death Strike to heal yourself back up, if otherwise you'll be overcapped on runic power. So that's like the normal rotation, how to do it. Pretty simple. And hey, I think it's time to go to the target dummy. Let's go. Alright, let's go to a target, a training dummy. So we'll start off with a Chains of Ice, Outbreak, Festering Strikes, Scourge Strikes, and probably some Death Coil. So let's go. Chains of Ice, Outbreak, Festering Strike. We can do another one with 6 stacks. Doomburst proc, another Death Coil, Scourge Strike, Death Coil, Scourge Strike, Scourge Strike, Doomburst proc, Scourge Strike, and if you took some damage, you can also do a Death Strike right there. Scourge Strike, keep your diseases up, Doomburst proc, Fast Swing Strike, Death Coil, Scourge Strike, Death Coil, Scourge Strike. And that's in general how you want to do the normal rotation. It's not that complicated. And I'll leave it down in the description as well, so you can just go and read it right there. And practice yourself on a target dummy. Alright, Death Lords. Important stuff. How to burst as an Unholy Death Knight in PvP. First, you want to maintain your chains of eyes on your kill target so you can close the gap and so he can't run away. After that, you want to cast Raise Abomination. Raise Abomination will spread your diseases. It doesn't have any animation timer this time. It's also really great and will apply festering wounds every time it attacks. After Raise Abomination, you want to cast Abomination Limb to just grab people towards you. Then you want to cast Death and Decay or Defile to keep him slowed and spread even more festering wounds to AoE them down later. After that Death and Decay or Defile, you want to cast Dark Transformation. After that, cast Unholy Assault, and then for a big whopping Apocalypse, and then proceed with your normal rotation. Let's go to the target dummy, guys. So here you are, ready to burst. We're going to open up with a Chains of Ice and then Raise Abomination. I'll just also slow it down after the first burst so you can just watch it back. And I also leave it down in the description so you can just read it back. Are we ready to burst? Let's go. There we go. Chains of Ice. Raise Abomination. There we go. Defile. And normal rotation, Doomburst procs. Oh, Scourge Strike, Death Coil, Scourge Strike, Festering Wound, Doomburst proc, another Doomburst proc, Scourge Strike. Man, the damage is ramping up, guys. Holy moly. Yes, feel the pain. Suffer well. And that's, yeah, the burst. Pretty easy. And also I'll leave it down in the description of the video so you can just read it back and also yeah, practice it on a target dummy, because it does take some practice to get it into your head, so the next time it will go automatically. But yeah, that's how to burst. And that will be it, Death Lords. That's how to play Unholy Death Knight in PvP in the War Within. It's not that hard. You have to get used to how to do, like, for example, the rotations, the normal rotation and the burst rotation. Then again, practice makes perfect. And hey, if you found this guide to be useful and enjoyed it, maybe drop a like for me as well on this video. It would massively help me out as a small content creator. I make some other edited videos and also some guides on my YouTube channel. So be sure to check it out, YouTube at Commanderk. And let me know what you think of it. I'll probably be making more class guides also for the War Within. So be sure to tune in. And yeah, that'll be it. This was Commanderk, and I'll see you in the next battle. Salute!